Hello everyone, this is Jim Delapine, and I'd like to give a brief overview as to what you can do with buttons and talk a little bit about the project. So I have Flash open and Photoshop open, and I want to talk about several things. So I'm going to start out with creating a new document. Alright, I'll be using the Control and Alt keys because I'm in the Windows environment. Keep in mind that if you're in the Mac, you would replace the Control key with the Command and the Alt with the Option. So to create a new document, I'm going to hit Control N, and that will bring up my new document window. I'm going to select ActionScript 3. I can change the document size here if I want, but I'm going to leave that for now and hit OK. Alright, so once I have my document open on the stage, you can always change the size by going to Properties and changing the size of your stage right now. And I'm going to make that 800 by 600, which is pretty much a standard. And I'm going to fit this in the window here. Then pop over to Photoshop and talk about some images and how to prepare them. So what you want to do first of all is make sure that the image that you'll be bringing into your site is as close as possible to the end result size. Okay, that will save file size and refresh time, etc. What you want to do before you bring them in, you want to save them for the web. With my image open, I'm going to go to File, Save for the Web. And with any photograph, you most often want to incorporate a JPEG. You'll see at the top window here, you have the original document here with the original file size. Based on the settings here, which is the JPEG at high quality, the new resulting size will be 36K. All right, so that's a dramatic difference. Okay, that's like 15 times less file size. And yet, if I zoom in, you can see that it's pretty comparable. So it's just for viewing purposes. Of course, if it's photography that is required that you have the best quality possible, you simply want to go in here and select the maximum. I already have it saved, so let me cancel out of this. I'm going to go back to Flash, and now I will import that file. File import to the library, and I'm going to find it. I know I saved it on my desktop here, and this will be the interior optimized. So I'll double click that, and it now shows up in my library. I'm also going to bring in another document that will be my background, and that will be House of Flash, and here we go. This is basically a quick blueprint. I'm just using this as an example. It's something to show you with regards to the buttons. So I have this brought in here, and it's really to the wrong size. I really didn't care too much about the quality because I'm not focusing on that. I mean, I'm focusing on other things, which is the button. So I'm just going to scale this up and here, and put this in here, and that should be, that's fine for all purposes. All right. So now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to create a new layer and call this buttons. I highly suggest that you name your layers. All right. It will simplify things as you build. I'm going to create a button that will be basically the dining room button. All right, and I'm going to set it up so that when you hover over it, you'll see an image within the dining room. You're going to hit Control F8, which is the Create New Symbol window, and that is found under Insert. So Insert New Symbol or Control F8. All right, I like to use shortcuts. You have three choices. You have a movie clip, button, or graphic. We're going to create a button, and I'm going to call that button. I'm going to name it Family BTN. Okay, and I'll hit OK. So it instantly goes into the editing mode for the button. So you can see that here. So if I go back to the scene, you can see the image. If you want to go into editing mode for the button, you simply double click on it, and we're back where we should be. All right, so I'm going to start out with creating some text, and I'll type in family room, and I'll go to properties, and it came out to be this bright big old green, so I'm going to highlight it and change the color to black. And I'm going to center it. And then what I want to do is duplicate that. So let's talk a little bit about the states here. All right, we have an upstate, which is the normal viewing area. The overstate, which is the state that you would see when you hover your cursor over the button. And then the downstate, which is the state that you would get when you depress your cursor. Okay, I'll talk about the hit state in a moment. So what I'm going to do first is duplicate this text to the overstate and downstate by hitting the F6 key 2 times. So F6 will duplicate the contents of that keyframe to the next state and then the next state. Okay, so I'm going to go to the overstate, highlight my text, and change the color. I'll change that to a lighter gray. And then just to get dramatic here, and hopefully I'm going to, for the sake of the demonstration, I'll make that color red. So now what I'm going to do is create a new layer. Alright, and this will be a layer that I'll place my image on. Alright, I'm going to select the overstate and hit F7. That will create a blank keyframe. So F6 duplicates the contents of one keyframe and brings it to another, the next frame. And F7 will create a blank keyframe on the highlighted or active frame. That will allow you to place content in that keyframe. So the content I'm going to place in there will be the interior. So I'm going to drag this image over on top here and let go. All right, notice now that that blank keyframe has content in it, so it turns solid black. All right, let me hide this layer and talk about the hit state. In any layer, you could select the hit state and hit F7 to create a blank keyframe. Once you do that, everything disappears because that content is back in the previous states. So in this hit state, you want to be able to see that content so you can create your own hit state. So I can now go down here and click on this little button here called the onion skin. So if I click that, you'll see the family will appear ghosted out. All right, if I unhide my image, you'll see the image all ghosted out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is with the hit state blank keyframe active, I'm going to go to my rectangle tool and create a shape around the text. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a shape that will react to a moving cursor. So once my cursor goes over a hit state, it changes from the normal cursor icon to the pointing hand. What I'm going to do now is go back into the scene and drag my button over that I just edited. So I'll drag this button over and place it on top of the area I want it to be. Okay, and so there is my button. And what we're going to do now is, first of all, look at the fact that you have this funky looking icon here. All right, that means that you did not exit the onion skin mode. So you need to go down here and click on that. Now we're back to where we ought to be. Okay, so I'm going to preview this by hitting Control Enter. All right, so there's our blueprint, and here's our button that we see. Notice when I hover my cursor over the button, the image pops up because it's in the overstate. Let's go back and make a change. But you can see the power of buttons and what they can do. All right. You can bring up an image of the family room here simply by hovering over. So let me go back here, and we're going to go back in and edit that button. So I'm going to go and double click on the button and drag that image from the overstate to the downstate. Okay. I simply click and drag it over. All right. And so now if I preview it, and I can preview it while in the button editing mode, Control Enter. All right. If I hover over it, you'll see the text change color, changes to a light gray. When I depress the button, that's when the image will appear. Okay, that's the downstate. We don't see the red text because the image is covering it. All right. So if we go back in here we can change the actual location and bring it over here. We go back in, Control Enter. If I click on it now, it's off to the side, and you can see how the text turns red. All right. Okay. One last thing is the hit state. We can create the hit state to be whatever size we want. So if I wanted that cursor to react quicker, or as it's approaching a different area, I can go in here and make a different shape for the hit state. All right. Then go in, Control Enter, and now when my cursor is down here, notice how it reacts to it. All right. So this is where this is the importance of the hit state. If we had no hit state, if you don't create a hit state, here's what would happen. You would once you let me get it out of here. Your cursor would have to be exactly over the black of the text for it to react. If this was a capital O and your cursor was in the center of the O, it would not react. Okay, so it's reacting to the solid area of the text. All right, you certainly want the viewer to react quicker. Okay, so as it approaches the text is where your hit state should be. But, I mean, and you can create any size hit state, okay, that you want. You can also place animations that are brought into movie clips. All right, let's say you had a shooting star or something. All right, when you brought your cursor over a certain state, you want something to shoot out or whatever. You could bring a movie clip into different states. Keep that in mind also. All right, I hope this was helpful. All right, guys, take care.